According to a ministry statement carried by the official Saudi press agency, the Saudi kingdom has arrested 93 people belonging to the so-called Islamic State, along with foiling a plan to bomb the U.S. embassy in the Saudi capital, Riyadh. Jose, the cell involving 2 Syrians and a Saudi national was detected in March, and thankfully, we were able to stop this car bomb from going off in the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh, which is a pretty big deal, and we have a lot to thank to the Saudi government for that. That takes me back to September 11th, the assault on our embassy in Benghazi in Libya, which left our ambassador Chris Stevens dead, which was a very sad thing, and that was able to happen in a country like Libya, which doesn't have the security like Saudi Arabia does. So Saudi Arabia is often criticized, by the West, by the liberal West, for their their judicial system, their strict interpretations of Sharia law. But at the same time, it's one of the few countries in that region which are stable enough to prevent things like this happening. These kinds of attacks don't fly in Saudi Arabia. So we have a lot to thank, I think.
I think you're right. I think that the fact that Saudi Arabia is a country where there's peace, there's business opportunity for North Americans. And obviously we see that the relationships in between Saudi Arabia and the U.S. are so important and so valuable that the local government is doing an extra effort to protect the interests of the United States, because it's in their best interest to have a strong, healthy relationship with the States. But also, Saudi Arabia is in a full frontal war with ISIS. Yeah. They are trying many, many things, and one of them is they're actually building walls both in the borders with Yemen and with Iraq. We're talking about, in Iraq, 600 miles of militarized wall, and then 1,000 miles in the border with Yemen. So they are completely committed, and they're putting a lot of infrastructure investment in containing their country from the threat of ISIS.
They have to. They're surrounded by countries that have little or no government. And we see people, not only ISIS, but also Al-Qaeda in the Arab Peninsula, which are coming over into Saudi Arabia in this area where they want to build the wall. Right now, it's just a desert, kind of like a porous border that we have with Mexico in a lot of the parts. You can just walk in and out. So yeah, they do have good reasoning to build these walls. You said that they're fighting ISIS. I have a quote here from that statement, just to give you an idea about their views on ISIS, and that they fight them just as much as we want to. Here's the quote. They said, "Activities are ongoing against the deviant group which seeks to undermine the security of this country. They are ceaselessly seeking to achieve this through their criminal plans." So they see them as criminals the same way we do, even though they're taking the same religion and interpreting it in different ways. Oftentimes we see here in the West, at least, Saudi Arabia is criticized for their beheadings that they do publicly for offenses that we see just as crazy as what ISIS is doing. But at the same time, you have to make a difference because there is a legal system.
There's a state of law. There's a state of law that is consistent, and we're not condoning the abuse on human rights and these practices that are pretty much medieval, but they happen within the context and the framework of a state of law, which is a completely different thing than a caliphate, like auto-decreed so-called caliphate that is doing whatever they please with no consensus whatsoever. So they think that's a big difference. Also, they need to retain political, it needs to be a place where they conduct business with the rest of the world. Saudi Arabia has a commercial relationship with the main powers of the Western world, so they can't play games because they will lose a lot of allies and they will lose a lot of business in the process if they get infiltrated by ISIS.
And that's why I really respect Saudi Arabian Kingdom for doing this and helping the U.S. Embassy, because, here in a country where it's okay to be an atheist, a lot of Americans are atheists, they know that, given a country like Saudi Arabia where you can get the death penalty for being an atheist. So a lot of differences culturally, but at the same time, we got each other backs in a lot of different ways. So should we be thanking Saudi Arabia for stopping a potential attack on the U.S. Embassy? I certainly think we should. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Please comment. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the Lip TV 2 for more.